Alrighty, welcome to class 4. What we're going to do is we're basically just going to carry on. This is going to be the last lab of the fixed width single page series that we've been doing. This series is just to get you adept at writing code by hand. I'm going to show you Dreamweaver to start here, but honestly you don't need Dreamweaver. So I'm just going to do it in here, but just be aware that it's not necessary. You can keep writing in Visual Studio Code. Honestly, personally, all of the stuff I do, my personal website, your guys' homework, all of that, I use Visual Studio Code. I don't even use Dreamweaver. So all Dreamweaver is, and this is just, it's basically the same thing as Visual Studio Code. It's just more specific to web coding specifically. Two specifics, okay? But basically, it's just more for that. All it does is help you write the code. You can write the code in any number of different software. So it does not need to be this software specifically. Now, if you want to use it, I'm going to show you just a brief overview. But if you don't want to use it, don't. Just go ahead and use Visual Studio Code. I normally use Visual Studio Code. Later on, it will be more helpful. Like right now, it's going to help us a little bit, but it isn't going to be that much different. Later on, it actually does get a little bit easier. It can do some things that'll make it easier for you. Actually, we're going to do a couple things here that will also do that. But I'm going to try and cater to both groups, just in case for some reason you couldn't get Dreamweaver installed. I'll show you kind of how to do it inside of Visual Studio Code too. Okay, so first, overview of what we're seeing here. So this is Dreamweaver. So it's part of the Creative Cloud. You can download it, install it, so on and so forth. This is 2020. Apparently, they changed the color to this pinkish purple. It's been green since the advent of it like over 10 years ago. So anyway, here it is. So I will have the I didn't put it over here. Where did I put it? Hang on a second. I will have a lab for you, so I'm just going to copy this, that you can download, right? It's basically where we left off last class. And you can download it, just unzip it, and then it will have all the bits in here, okay? So if I double-click to open this up, you can see this is from whence we last left off. Ooh, so great. So it looks pretty much the same. The only difference is I added this here. This is going to be the wallpaper. Might look ugly, I don't know. So, yay, exciting stuff. Okay. But more or less, it's pretty much where we left off with last time. All right, so you're going to download that, blah, blah, blah. All right, so you're going to open up Dreamweaver. Now, you can start a new project, or you can work in the project that you already have done, okay? So one of the things that it does is that it allows you, it allows you to manage sites, and the idea behind this is that you can set where your site is located, like on your computer locally. And what that does is that every time you make something or it creates something, it's going to look in that folder to make all the stuff, to put stuff in. It's just going to know that that's the home folder, basically. So after you unzip it, this is obviously our master folder. We're going to put everything into that. So what you're going to want to do is it might ask you to manage sites right off the bat. You can just close out of it. If you go to site, you can go new site or manage sites. Either way will work. Let's just do manage sites. Because you can just click on new site right here. So I'm just going to click on new site. And we'll just call this, what is this? Week 04, right? That's fine. Then it's gonna ask for where that folder is. So where's the master folder? So I'm gonna hit browse, and it's looking at my thumb drive for whatever reason. I'm just gonna go to desktop and no, that ain't it. Where are you? Oh, right here. So this will be my master folder. It's just that let your last name week 04 start. I'll hit select folder. So now it knows that that's that folder, and I'll hit save. Okay, and then done. All that's going to do is just it knows. If you look over here, now you can see it knows where our files and such are. That's, you honestly could even get by without doing it. For what we're doing now, it isn't going to make much difference. Later on, it would, but for this, it isn't going to make all that much. So what we want to do now is just go ahead and open up our thing. So we're going to hit open. And you're going to see it knows to go to that folder, right? Again, it's just because we set that site thing up. So I'll select index and hit open, and boom. Okay. I'm going to do this real quick just because personally I like working this way. I'm going to go to View, and I'm going to do Split, and then I am going to split vertical, not horizontal, like this. Okay. You can leave it horizontal if you want. They both have their advantages, disadvantages, whatever. I don't know. I'm used to working this way. Now, this is really the big thing that separates this from Visual Studio Code and all the other ones, is that it's a WYSIWYG editor. And you might go, what is a WYSIWYG editor? A WYSIWYG editor stands for what you see is what you get. All right, so what that means is that as I type things over here, if I click over here, it will show up. I don't know if I can't really tell. Let me see something. Let's in the beginning, let's just add more dots. Right? If I click in here, see how you see the more dots? So basically, what you put in there, it immediately updates over here. And you can also do this. You can go in here and go, you can type right into it, and it will change the code here for you. And there's a bunch of tools that will help you actually write the code in here as well. I'm going to show you that later on. For this tutorial, what I want to do is God, I hate all these stupid things. For this tutorial, I'm just going to have us write the code kind of the way that we usually write the code. But it is possible to actually use this and basically make it inside of here, this screen. But I don't suggest it, because the problem is that it's writing code and you don't know the kind of code that it's writing. The whole point of web design is that we can control our markup. If I do it in here, I mean, I can see it over here and fix it, but I have less control. So I still think it's better to do it over here in the code side. Okay. All right. That's what makes it special. That's the thing that makes it Dreamweaver. Now, just to give you a rough overview of some of the interface and stuff. So File does all the stuff that you expect File to do: importing, exporting, saving, closing, right? Edit does most of the same stuff, copy, paste. Don't really use it. View, we will use a couple times, so you just saw me do it there, where I can change it to split. You can change these here, so let me see. So there's these top ones here, but honestly, I can do it by just clicking Code, Split, or just Live. Okay, so I'm going to leave on Split for right now, but you can do that in View. Yeah, so insert. This is somewhat useful, but so basically, instead of having to manually write the code, so let's say I wanted to add another P here, I could click and go Insert and then go Paragraph, and it will automatically insert this paragraph for me. Okay, but even that honestly isn't really that handy, because it takes me longer to do that. There's a way to do it in the panels over here that I'll show you. So we don't really use any of this. But that's what these are. Basically, it allows you to put in these other HTML and CSS things over here. Tools, so these are just tools that help you fix your code. I actually don't use any of these. The only one that I will do and we'll actually do it today, is to export my CSS. Okay, but really that's not something we're really going to use. Find, if you're looking for specific things inside of your document, you can type in there. It's in every text editor. Cite, you just saw us. That's just to control the things there. And then lastly is window. Now, all the Adobe products, and honestly most complex CAD programs, will have obviously this layout, but they'll have like a way that if you mess it up, that you can fix it. So for instance, let's say you went like this, and then where's the close out of it? There it is. And you just grab stuff, and you're a terrible human being, and nobody likes you, and your mom was right, you're never going to make it, right? So you did this, okay? You're like, it's all jumbled up. All you have to do is go to Window, go to Workspace Layout, and you can just do Reset Standard. And it's going to set all the things back. All of the programs have it, Photoshop has it, whatever, all the Adobe ones do. So if you ever get it kind of messed up, just look for that, and you'll see it in there. All of these are basically just these panels here that you see. So that's what Window does, and then there's Help, which is help stuff, so it's not really too big there. Literally never use any of this. This is just tool stuff, but you're just typing in here, so I don't find this particularly useful. So obviously this is the code view. It shows you the code, pretty obvious. You can see it's color coded for you, just like the other one is. You do have, I think you can adjust it in that as well, but you do have ways that you can actually adjust this. So if you go to like File, not Page Properties, maybe it's Edit, Preferences, you'll see that like Code Format, not that one, Code Hints. Where are you? Interface. Oh, here we go. So you can change to these different code themes. So like if I did this, I'm just going to do it so you can see it and apply. You see it did nothing. It looks a little bit different down here. Let me do light so you can see it. Apply. So if you want it to look differently, they do have other options. I'll just keep the classic. So you can change that if you... Oh, maybe I want dark. Whoops. Classic. There we go. Okay. Dark, I think, works better. Okay, so, yeah, so this has the code. It does all the things you would expect it to do. It does autocomplete, does those sorts of things. We'll write some in here so you'll see what it does. So that's code. Like I said, we're in split. This code view, split, and then there's live view. Okay. Now you'll notice that live view also has design view. And you're going to see they look a little bit different, but also kind of the same. So back in the day, the design view was all there was. That was its WYSIWYG part. But then they came out with live view. And the difference is that the live view is sort of the updated version, and it supports all of the new stuff. It's closer to what a website would be. So what that means is that, like, if I'm in like, let's say I'm in the live view, you see how this, see how this is a link, right? If I hover over it, actually this might work in design view too, I'm not sure, but if I go to design view, is this gonna work? Yeah, see, like in design view, see how it doesn't, when I hover over it, it doesn't look like a link? If I had anything on this that affected like the hover, when you hover over it gets dark or light or whatever, none of that would show up in design view. That would all work in live view. Anything that's CSS3 and above is going to not show up in the design view. It's going to show up in the live view. So you might be like, well, why would they even have design view? There are some things that don't work in live view, and often I've had this problem where you're in the live view and it just glitches. Like it's not 100% right. So if for some reason you did something and you click on here and like it's just not updating, just do me a favor, go to design and then go back to live, and it should like snap back. Live just tends to be a little bit more glitchy in general, so I think they left design because it's a little bit easier to work in design. I just leave it on live, but that's what it's meant for. Another thing I do want to make a point about with this, don't rely on what that looks like. If you remember before, it's the browser that's interpreting your code. So you could write something that looks a certain way in Google Chrome, and then you could write something that looks different, and the same thing looks different in Firefox, and looks different in Safari, and so on and so forth. This is not necessarily going to be what it looks like as a web page. So you actually have to test it as the web page. Don't just think, oh, it looks great here, it's going to be good. That is not the case. You actually have to test it. That being said, let me show you how to do that. So let's say I have this web page here. I'm like, oh, it looks good. If I want to test it real quick, all you have to do is you click down here. You'll see this preview button. Click on that, and then my thing will be in the way. Let's see if I can move it. Okay. You click on cancel. I'm going to try and, come on. Nope. Oh, I think I got it. Nope. It's like wherever I don't want this stupid, okay, well, whatever. That's there. Okay, so you're going to click on it. This little thing's going to pop up. And any web browser that you have that's installed will show up here. And you can click on any one of these, and it will open it up on there. You can also click on this preview on device. So let me show you something real quick. So I'm just going to do, we'll just do Chrome because I don't have anything. So you have to save the changes because obviously it has to save it in order to upload it. And I want to show you something. This is another thing that's actually special about Dreamweaver. So if you look, you can see it looks like it does, like it's. But if you look, this isn't local. You see this number? That's an IP address. So what it does, this is one of the things, like, you know, we call it the Adobe Creative Cloud. Like, oh, it's so great because it's on the cloud. This is actually one instance where it is actually useful. What it does is it actually saves it, and then they their servers, put it on there as a preview, and then you can view it. Now you might be like, well, what's the point? Who cares? I might as well just do it locally. Well, there's a couple things. For one, it lets you know how quickly it loads, right? So like, I'm actually seeing it as a website, not as a theoretical, it's on my local computer. This way I know that it's working while it's crossing streams, right? So it's actually better because of that. I can also send this link, right? I could send this to a customer and be like, hey, this is what it looks like so far. And they can preview it because it's on a server on the internet out in the outer space. So that's pretty cool. And lastly, this I thought was really neat, is the thing I was just showing you here. You see, come on, buddy. You see this here, and it says preview on device, and it comes with this little QR code, or QR code. If you scan that, if your phone has a lot of them have like little QR readers, right? It just uses the camera and it can read that code. What it'll do is it will literally bring you to that same IP address I just showed you, but you can do it on your device. So what's great is that obviously most people, probably you, are using mobile devices to go on the internet more than they're using computers. And you're like, I use my computer the most. You're on the computer all the time. You're a nerd. Of course you are. Okay? But not everybody's a nerd. Most people go out and do things. Okay? But most people are using what we call mobile first design. So you can make sure that it looks good on your phone and not just good on your computer. So you can test it, make sure it's responding and doing the things that you want it to. So that's really nice. And you can, scan it with your tablet and scan it with your phone and just make sure that it looks good on those different devices. That's awesome. So that's another thing that's really neat. So, but what you do want to do is just make sure that, you're constantly testing it here. Click on it. Now, for some reason, this does happen. It's just this doesn't work. All you got to do is just actually click on it over here like we have been, and you can get an actual preview of it there. So for some reason, I've had it when you do this, sometimes it doesn't do it, and it still does it locally. So just, it can be a little glitchy. That put you? Yeah, whatever. Okay. So that's what that is. Yeah, that's fine. Okay, so then we have files. It just shows me basically my reservoir, my file folder structure over here. Don't use that at all. CC libraries, I don't use that either. Basically, that's just so that you can, if you got, color swatches, you can swap them from, app to app and that sort of thing. Not going to be that handy here. Next one is insert. This is useful. It's not going to be super useful for us right now, but literally, just like I was saying before, where I can go insert up here, these are the same things. If you look, it has all the same stuff is up there. So literally, if I want to add, let's say, I don't know, a paragraph again, it will add a paragraph. So these are just buttons that just add the code. It just makes it easier. That's what this is, okay? CSS Designer, basically, this will allow us to adjust our CSS, and it will also write CSS code for us. And it gives you all of the options here. If I turn off Show Set, you'll see it'll show all of the options of CSS that we can write. But it gives you kind of a nice user interface, and you can just adjust the numbers, and it will automatically create the code. So that's obviously a little bit different. That's nice. But I find it almost more cumbersome to do it that way as opposed to just writing it, but that's what that's there for. Then here is the DOM, Document Object Model. That isn't going to do anything for us in this class, but later on in the future, when you're doing JavaScript, the JavaScript will interact with the elements on your page through the DOM. Basically, it's just a structure of how this is laid out so that your JavaScript can select, just like we use these classes and IDs to target these different elements with for CSS rules. You do the same thing, but with JavaScript. So you actually will even use the classes and IDs, but it's just the way that works. If you're familiar with coding at all, basically, it treats these all as objects in order for it to be able to control them. So, but we're not doing anything with that anyway, so it doesn't matter. Assets, so you can see I have a portrait and the wallpaper GIF that I made. That's fine. And then these are code snippets. These are nice because basically what it does is this. They're basically just pre-made bits of code. So there might be something you use all the time where it's not it's not like a tag or something, right? It's not one of these. It's not like an element. It's like something that you always write, like a button or something like that. It's all a bunch of like pre-written code. Now, there's not going to be too much in the HTML snippets, but like for instance, one thing that we're constantly doing, and you've already seen me do it, is I click on paragraph. I have this text in here. They actually have one underneath the HTML snippet. You can see when it says add lorem ipsum. I can just double click on that, and it will write out lorem ipsum for me, which is pretty nice. Instead of me having to go on the website and clickety-clack, boom, you just click that button. But these are basically just these pre-made little code things. We're not really going to use that too awful much, other than maybe for the lorem ipsum, but that's down there. Okay, so I'm going to... Man, that was a long video. Okay, sorry, that took longer than I was anticipating. But that's basically what it is. When we do the next project, which is going to be Bootstrap, which will be the week after this, we will really start to leverage this more. This week I'm just going to we'll write code in it, but I'm not going to use any of the fanciful things. I'm just going to basically write the code like we kind of did before, but it'll assist us a little bit more. That's what we're going to do. All right.